If you are looking to increase your cooling to your 3.0 Duramax diesel by removing the Charge Air Cooler Radiator and installing a PPE upgraded Charge Air Cooler Radiator, this is the video for you because I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how I did it. Now, this is on a 24 ZR2. All other makes and models are going to be very similar. Now, you might get worried that you have to pull the whole front end apart because that's what's often said, but that's not the case. I'm going to show you how quickly and easy we can do it straight from the top. But what I want to show is on the ZR2, you notice how there is no inlet for the Charge Air Cooler Radiator. All the airflow is directly right here, so this little chunk right here. So this radiator is critical, in my opinion, for keeping those temperatures down. Let's go ahead and get into the install. Depending on your make and model, you will need to remove the skid plate in order to get access to the lower hose. It's a little bit easier to point out while the Charge Air Cooler Radiator is out, but that is the lower hose that we will need to remove. There is no drain on here, so in order to remove that, we need to go right to the source. From under the truck on the left side, you can see that's the hose right there. So you will need to remove your skid plate depending on how your build is. Obviously this is a ZR2, so we have a skid plate right there. But get that out, and then we're gonna go ahead and start draining the fluid from right there. Once you've started the drain from down below, go ahead and take off this cap right here. This is going to allow the coolant to flow out through the hose down on the bottom, and this will make it much smoother process. Working from the top while that is draining, you will need to remove the two-piece clips that are holding this plate on. Sliding that up and then popping these off. You'll need to come over here where these are T15 screws. Loosen those up, obviously using a tool. Loosen those up, take them off. Now that we've got the airflow deflector out of the way, you can see there's actually access down below. And what we need to do is take off the hood latch assembly. This is 213s. And then we can pull that out of the way. The reason we want to pull this off is because we don't want to snag it on here and cause any damage. On the back side, there's actually a connector that you will need to pop off. These are 15mm bolts. Now you don't need to take them all the way off on the bottom. You just need to get the top ones loose or take them off, and then you can slide the bars over, which is going to give you full and complete access to the Charge Air Cooler Radiator itself. The upper hose on the Charge Air Cooler Radiator will need to come off, and that'll just slide off and just slide it out of the way. The biggest hurdle at this point is going to be the brackets on the left side and the right side. You can see that there are some brackets holding the radiator into place. So on the left side, the driver's side, you can see the bracket is held on with 4 10mm bolts. Go ahead and remove all 4 of those bolts and pull that bracket out of the way. Then on the right side, you can just access the 2 bolts through the grill. And if you're creative enough, you can get to those 2 10mm holding on to the Charge Air Cooler Radiator itself. Now you'll want to loosen the ones on the side that are bolted to the radiator itself. You don't need to pull off that bracket completely. You just need to loosen that up. With the Charge Air Cooler Radiator out, go ahead and remove any bugs or debris that you find on the lower fan assembly. It's absolutely critical to have the best airflow possible, and if there's any bugs or trash or debris in there, it's going to impede that airflow. So with all that out, you can go ahead and start to set the Charge Air Cooler Radiator back into place. This is your new PPE one. Should fit. It's a little bit tighter because yes, this one is a little bit wider. So go ahead and install the bracket on the left side. Don't tighten all the bolts down. I like to just set all of the bolts into place before tightening anything down. And then on the right side, the passenger side, go ahead and get those bolts started as well. Once all bolts are started, as in there's a couple threads threaded in, that's when you can go ahead and tighten it down. Once those are tightened down, go ahead and install the upper radiator hose, Charge Air Cooler Radiator hose, followed by going underneath and installing the lower radiator hose. Be sure to put the braces back on. These are the 15mm, and then realign your 13mm bolts that were holding the hood latch in place. Get it back into position to where it was. It's at this point that you'll want to go ahead and fill the Charge Air Cooler Radiator system. It is right through here. This is the reservoir right in the front. You want to use a 50-50 mix of Dex Cool and water, distilled water if possible, or buy the pre-mixed. Either way works. What I like to do is unbolt the reservoir and actually lift it up, and that will allow some air to purge through the system. If you have the ability to use a scan tool, this is where it's best to start up the scan tool. Then go ahead and activate the pump, which will purge the air out. And you'll see that by the flow of coolant through here with all the bubbles starting to come up. That's the absolute best way to do it. Now, you can also go about just driving the truck. And if you have a gauge like I do, my Banks iDash, you can go ahead and watch the intake air temperature too. As the temperatures climb, once they start to drop, then you know that the coolant has flow or started flowing through, and you may still have air bubbles in there. All right, I let it idle for a bit. We're at 2,500 RPM once again, or 2,000 RPM. You can see the Charge Air Cooler 2 temp is coming down, which means the pump is going, fluid is flowing. It's at this point where you want to go double check again, make sure your coolant level is full in the coolant reservoir. Both options are possible. I highly suggest you use a scan tool in order to turn the pump on, because that will purge the air out much quicker and much better. You're probably wondering why I had you do the coolant before installing this upper plate. It's because you want to look for any leaks at all at this time. Once you turn on the pump, you want to see any leaks, and in my case, no leaks, so we can go ahead and reinstall this. Now that's just the push clips back in, and then the T15 bolts right on there. 91 degrees outside. I'm driving at 72 miles an hour. Charge Air Cooler temp is 91 degrees. That's the complete install of the Charge Air Cooler Radiator. Hopefully you found this video useful, as I do have a bunch of other videos where I do a bunch of installs of all aftermarket products, as well as OEM factory replacement parts. So be sure to look around the channel and look for something else that may spark your interest. Till next time, see ya.